Have we ever wondered, what if behind the world we know today, there is a much deeper, much older story? Mythologies, for the most people, they're just old stories. But what if they're not? What if those stories are fragments of something that was once real but forgotten? For a while now, I've been chasing that question. I've been exploring Turkish mythology, ancients, beliefs, and the meaning behind those stories. And during this journey, I realized something. What if mythology was never meant to be fiction? What if those stories we call legends or made up were actually people trying to describe what they experienced in the only way they could? Maybe it was never about imagination. Maybe it was about limitation. Thousands of years ago, people didn't have the words, the science, or language what we have today. So when they witnessed something they couldn't fully explain, they turn it into symbols, stories, and myth. And over time, we start calling these stories, just a myth. That's exactly why I decided to create this story, named Blood of the White Wolf. So where does stories come from? What's behind it? Where does Turkish mythology fit into all of this? And why did I start this project? In this video, I'm gonna break it all down. But let me warn you, what I'm about to talk about might not be just a story. And some of it might challenge things you always believed to be true. Now first, we need to understand something. What's exactly Turkish mythology? For most people, mythology is just gods, legends, and ancient tales. But Turkish mythology is not just storytelling. It's a reflection of how people saw the world, how they made sense of it, their connection to nature, the meaning they gave the sky, and their respect for the unseen, especially the sky. For them, it wasn't just an empty space, it's a power. It's representing order. And the center of the order was Göktengri. Sometimes they call him Göktanrı. That's what we're saying in Turkish. But here's what really matters. These beliefs didn't exist just for worship. They were an attempt to understand what they were seeing. Maybe the thing they witnessed couldn't be explained by the way we explain things today. So instead, they described them as gods, as spirits, as forces. Think about it. When they saw someone strong, fearless, and true leader, what was the closest things they could compare him to? A wolf? So maybe it was someone was super powerful. They said the spirit of the wolf lives within him. Or maybe they actually saw something that we couldn't call an angel today, but they didn't have the words for it. It was fast, powerful, not quite human. It was a winged horse. So maybe the truth is, they weren't imagining things, they were describing what they saw. But we, instead of trying to understand it, we labeled as a myth. And maybe that's where we were wrong. For me, one of the most striking parts of these stories is the wolf. In Turkish mythology, the wolf is not just animal. It's a guide, it's a leader, and at the same time a symbol. In many stories, it appears a figure that saves, leads, or reveals a people. Even now, we're still using that symbol like this. In many stories, it appears as a figure that saves, leads, sometimes a warrior, sometimes a spirit. And this is where the concept of Gökbörü comes in. Gökbörü is not just a wolf. It's a powerful connected to sky, a protector, a chosen one, and maybe a legacy. But what if this power never disappeared? What if this power still exists somewhere, somehow? And what if, in this modern world, it awakes inside someone? That's exactly what Blood of the White Wolf is built on. An ancient power reborn in a world, a forgotten legacy awakened once again. And at the center of the story is Ata, By the way, Ata is a Turkish name that's mean actually elder. But his story is far more than what it seems. In this point, there is something more personal I need to share. When I was 19, I became deeply curious about these topics. I started researching from the both perspective, religion and mythology, and there was something I began to notice. They are not as different as we think. In many ways, they actually were close to each other. Even religions don't always tell you the things directly. They often tell them thought stories. And since I'm Turkish, I naturally started focusing on Turkish mythology and Turkish history. And the more I researched, and the more I began connecting what I found with different religions, and at some point, things start to look very different. For example, people back then has no idea what DNA was, but they talk about the tree with 9 branches. A light comes down from the sky and then a tree of life appears. And I start thinking, what if what they were describing is something completely different from how we understand it today? And that tree they described was actually a structure. Maybe even a place of creation, a kind of laboratory. Because how else you could explain something like that to someone from that time? The only thing they could do was describe it comparison and hope that person listening will understand in that way. And that's when I realized I need a way to show people this idea. So I wrote the story. I read it, but one question appeared. How I'm gonna bring this story to people? How I'm gonna reach them? So after that, I told myself, alright, I'll write this as a book. And I did. But no publisher found it realistic. So I tried a different path. I turned into film and TV. I wrote short scripts and I started reaching out. But everywhere I went, I kept hearing the same answer. My story wasn't what they were looking for. It didn't really in cheap humor. It didn't follow the kind of dramatic cliches people are used to. And to them, my story felt too unrealistic. And honestly, I didn't understand that. But at the same time, it made me feel like there wasn't really place for a story like mine. So little by little, I started losing hope. At that point, I genuinely thought this story would disappear with me. Then everything changed. Technology started evolving fast. Artificial intelligence appeared. Social media became more powerful than ever. And for this first time, it felt like you didn't need a permission anyone to tell your story. These tools gave the people a voice. And that's exactly when this journey truly begun. So this story is my interpretation. I took depths of Turkish mythology and reimagined on my own way. Then I connected to Turkish history so maybe people will start exploring it themselves. I blended with technology. I connected with other mythologies. And I shaped it around the world we live in today and what it means to be human. Because at its core, the story actually trying to say one simple thing. From the very beginning of the time, across all mythologies, across all religions, there was always been one shared idea. The soul. Everything comes from soul. If you enlighten your soul, then when it leaves this body, it's moved toward something greater. But if you corrupt it, then when it leaves, it falls into something darker. And in simple form, that's what all this has been about. And I wrote the story to express the idea in a way that feels real and understandable. In my future videos, I'll be breaking down the characters in depth, talking with the voice actors behind them, and showing you how I use the AI to bring this story alive. And maybe one day, if we grow this channel together, that's exactly what I want. We'll turn this into a real anime or even a full series, because that is my dream actually. And I truly believe that this humanity are not lost. Our souls are not beyond saving. They're just waiting to remember it.